attend with us? Okay, so let me say again. All right, so hi everybody. It's a great pleasure and honor having you all today with me. This is Marwa Seif. I am going to tell you some information about me if you don't me for people who are not acquainted with me. Okay, and this session, inshallah, is going to be 30 minutes presentation and 10 minutes Q&A. It's my session in the ICC International Conference. The theme of the conference was the integration of 21st century skills in the language classroom. And today, inshallah, I'm going to tell you about some critical thinking techniques in CLIL. I guess you're familiar with the CLIL acronym. So let's get started telling you about me. This is Marwa Seif, a TEFL certified C1 level teacher of English and a teacher educator in the British Council Professional Development Programs for Teachers of English, TN attacks. I'm actually so much passionate about, getting my community equipped with the latest trends of education through teaching and sharing what I regularly learn. Okay, so much information here. You can learn more in the presentation. I just want to tell you about my motto, the quote that I really believe in very much, which is, if you want to learn something very well, teach it. Okay, it's very important to teach something, and when you teach something and you help others to know to learn what they need to give them what they need to learn and know, you will learn it very well. I guess you agree with me. So I invite you today to be interactive and to interact with me in the chat box. And if you have any questions, we have, I guess, 10 minutes or 7 minutes, maybe 7 to 10 minutes Q&A session before the session gets disconnected. Okay, so let's get started. First, please write in the chat box, what does CLIL stand for? This is an acronym, of course. Every letter stands for certain word. So let me check the chat box. I hope your answers keep coming in very fast. What is CLIL? What does it stand for? Just write in the chat box very quickly, if you can hear me well. Hey, active participants, hi. CLIL, what does it stand for? CLIL, C-L-I-L, excellent. Miss Mana, thank you so much. Content, language, integrated learning. That's it. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Okay, so please, I have another task for you here. Please read this quote and write in the chat box if you agree with it or not. It's just a critical thinking question. There are no correct or incorrect answers. And tell me why, briefly, in brief. Just tell me, do you agree with it or not, and why? So let's read it for you. There is nothing new under the sun, but there are lots of old things we don't know, said Ambrose Bierce. There is nothing new under the sun, but there are lots of old things we don't know. By the way, this writer means that there is nothing new that we can invent, but there are things that we can discover. They already exist. We don't have to invent. So you may agree or disagree. Just write here in the chat box. Tell me about your opinion. Miss Shayma agrees with the acronym, the code. Agree. Miss Asma agree. Miss Sameh agree. Miss Hanan agrees. Wonderful. Okay. Anybody to disagree, and why? Maybe you have another opinion. He just wants to say that we don't invent, we just discover things that already exist in life. Agree. Old methods are adapted to suit our age. Okay, wonderful. As I've just told you, there are no correct or incorrect answers. You just mention your opinion, and I respect it. Just mute yourselves, and if you have any questions, keep it for the Q&A session at the end. All right, Miss Wafat, please mute yourself. Okay, what are the critical thinking techniques that I'm going to tell you about today? Actually, I'm going to tackle Scamper Technique, the Lotus Blossom Technique, the mind maps, the reverse brainstorming, and the open-ended questions. And by the way, I guess maybe most of you are familiar with some of these, or maybe all of these. Let's see how to use them or apply them in a CLIL lesson in particular. So yeah, I want you to make sure that your video is off if you don't want to turn on the camera. Okay, so let's have a look at Hi, everybody. Just mute yourselves, please. Okay. Okay, let me mute everybody. I'll mute you myself. Just a second. Mute all. Okay. All right. So the first technique to tackle here is the Scamper technique. The Scamper technique. It's, by the way, it's an acronym. Every letter stands for certain sub-technique, if I can call it like this. So the S stands for substitute, the C for combine, the A for adapt, the M for modify, the P for put to another use, the E for eliminate, and the R for reverse. Sometimes they call it rearrange. So you either rearrange or reverse. Of course, this needs some clarification on how to use the technique in a CLIL lesson, of course. By the way, that the Scamper technique is just a powerful tool for promoting critical thinking skills in CLIL lessons and in any lesson, by the way. I'll give you some example. You could use this technique to explore, for example, the impact of new technologies on traditional industries, or to generate ideas for reducing waste in a manufacturing process, or even to explore the impact of climate change on urban infrastructure. So let's elaborate more on every part of the Scamper technique, how to use it in class, and what's the meaning of every part here. Of course, I'll tell you about it. You just identify the problem, the topic, the idea you are working on in class in a CLIL lesson, and you divide your students into groups. Every group works on part of this technique. One group works on the substitute part of the Scamper technique, another group works on the combine part, a third group works on the adapt, and so on. So let's see what are these components of the Scamper technique in order to use it in CLIL lessons. Let me just a second, let me check the chat box if somebody says something. Okay, Ms. Dua, okay, the pleasure is all mine, actually. All right. So substitute from its name. So the group working on the substitute part of the Scamper technique are going to think about this question: what could you replace in a product? If you are working on a product, for example, and I want my students to work on the product, to think about how to improve it, to improve the product, to solve the problem, to improve the idea, and so on. So questions to think about are, what could you replace in a product to make it better? Could you use a different material or technology to make the product better, or the problem better, to solve the problem? Okay, so the substitute part means that you replace one element of an idea or a product or a process with something else. For example, if we are discussing renewable energy sources, and this is like, social studies lesson, we could substitute solar panels for wind turbines and see how that affects the overall idea. This is for the substitute part. It's like the pencil. If you have like a pencil, and I ask you to work in groups to make it better, to think of ideas to make it better, and you work on the substitute part, can you just tell me in the chat box an idea where you replace part of the pencil to make it better? Replace part of the pencil with something else, substitute part of the pencil for something else to make the product, which is the pencil, better. Let me check the chat box. The tip, okay, Ms. Nagle. What about the tab? To replace it with what? Or to substitute it for what? Try to imagine. It's already there. It's part of the product. Okay. If you replace part of the pencil with something else, what would be the rubber? Excellent. The eraser. Excellent. Yes, that's it. Excellent. Wonderful. So this is how we substitute. This is part of the Scamper technique. The wooden cover to plastic cover. Okay. Excellent. Mr. Mahsa's eraser. Excellent. Thank you. Wonderful participants. Okay, what about the C4 combine, the combined parts of the Scamper technique? Actually, the group of our students working on this part of the Scamper technique actually are going to think about answers for these questions, like, what other products could you combine with this product to make it more useful? Could you add a new feature or function? So you just combine two ideas together, or two steps together in a process, or two components of a product. If we are speaking about the pencil and the pencil as a product, What could you combine with to make it better, to make it more effective, to create something new? Let me check the chat box. So if we're working on the product, which is the pencil, can we combine the pencil with something else to make it a new product? A ruler, okay. A ruler, so the pencil and a ruler. Okay, yeah, any other ideas? Sharpener, wonderful. Wow, excellent. Okay, excellent ideas here. Wonderful participants today. Eraser, again, it's combined. Okay, are going to add to combine. Mr. Nabil says a pencil is a ruler. Wonderful. A pencil and a ruler, because a pencil is a ruler. This is another use, and it's called something else here we're going to speak about after a while. Mrs. Shayma says, just a second, let me see. Yeah, to combine it with notebook. Okay, excellent. What about combining part of it or the whole pencil with a pen? So it will be a pencil pen or a pen pencil. Okay, a new idea. This is critical thinking and creativity. Okay, this is how it works in any lesson and in CLIL in particular. So the combined part of the Scamper technique means that we bring together two or more ideas to create something new. For example, if we're discussing the impact of technology on the environment, this is of course a CLIL lesson. Okay, we could combine ideas about renewable energy with ideas about sustainable agriculture and see how they might work together. All right, so let's get going. What about the adapt part of the Scamper technique? In this part, the students are going to work on these questions like, how could you modify this product to make it work better in a different context, in a different situation? Could you make it more, for example, environmentally friendly? So you just modify the existing idea or the product or the process to make it more suitable for a particular situation. For example, if we're discussing the effects of climate change on wildlife, we could adapt ideas from a different context, such as urban planning, to see how they might apply. Okay, so you adapt it, you use it for something else. Okay, you adapt the product or the process or the situation or the idea we have. Okay, I was just checking the chat box if you have any comments or questions. Okay, now we move on to the M of the Scamper technique that refers to modify. In this part of the Scamper technique, our students in the group are going to think of what changes you could make to the existing product to make it more efficient or user-friendly. Could you improve the design or the functionality? Could you modify the size? Could you minimize the process or maximize it, minimize the product or maximize it to make it better? For example, if I have a pencil, again, the pencil example, it's easy and simple to imagine. Okay, you could think of minimizing the size of the pencil or make it larger according to your needs. Okay, so in our context in CLIL, I'll give you an example. If we are discussing transportation infrastructure, for example, we could modify ideas about public transportation to make them more efficient and sustainable. So the modify part of the Scamper technique means that we make changes to the existing idea to improve it, or to the existing process or product that we are working on. Okay, the P for put to another use. Of course, the P is one part of the Scamper technique. P, put to another use. So could this product that we are working on in the CLIL lesson be used in a different way than it originally was intended? Could it be repurposed or adapted to for a different market? Okay, yeah, I mean, another use of the product, another way to look at the idea. Okay, could we display this product to different markets than originally purposed or intended? So this means taking the existing idea or process or product and apply it to a new context. For example, if you are discussing the benefits of community gardens, we could put these ideas to another use by applying them to urban planning or community development. Okay, I hope that That is clear. All the ideas are related to critical thinking. Of course, Mrs. Manel. Wonderful. Yeah, that's the topic of today's presentation, the critical thinking in CLIL and some techniques on how to implement and promote critical thinking in our students. Of course, yeah. The E for eliminate. Eliminate means delete, cancel, remove. So what features of the product or the idea or the problem or the process maybe, what steps of the process maybe, are unnecessary or redundant, things that I can eliminate, I can remove to streamline the design, to simplify the design, to make it simpler or more beneficial or more appropriate according to my needs, of course. So we just remove an element from an existing idea to see how that affects the overall concept. For example, if we are discussing ways to reduce waste in a manufacturing process, we could remove or eliminate certain steps to see if that improves efficiency or not. Okay, so now with the last part of the Scamper technique, which is rearrange or reverse. It's the R letter that refers to rearrange or reverse. So you rearrange the steps or reverse them from backwards to forward or upside down in order to create new ideas. So somebody is annotating on my screen. Don't annotate on the screen, please. Okay, just a second. So what does reverse mean and how can we apply this part of the Scamper technique? We think about how to flip the purpose or the function of the product on its head. Could we make it to the opposite of what it was designed for? For example, if we have the pencil product, can we reverse it to make it used for something else? Maybe if we make it from backward to forward, it's not putting it to another use. No, it's putting it from forward to from backward to forward, or from upside down. Okay, so you see how it will function. What will we have? Maybe a new product. Okay, by the way, you have a wonderful video on the YouTube channel, on any YouTube channel. Just to Google the topic and write the application of the Scamper technique on the pencil. You will find wonderful ideas that make it simple for you to apply with your students, particularly in a CLIL lesson. So this has been the Scamper technique, Scamper. So now write in the chat box, what does the S stand for? Let me check your memory here. This is not a critical thinking question. It's just a memory question, a memory game. Low order thinking skills, by the way. Low order thinking question. It has to do with memory. Substitute, Miss Hanan, excellent. Okay, what does the C stand for? Excellent, Mr. Sayed, thank you. Active participants, excellent. What does the C stand for? Combine, excellent, Mrs. Dua, thank you so much. Okay, what does the A stand for? Adapt, excellent. Okay, what does the M stand for, if you remember? M for? Modify, excellent, Miss Asma, thank you. Mr. Sayed and Miss Hanan, thank you so much. Excellent, Miss Dua. All right. P for what? P. If you remember the parts of the Scamper technique, the P stands for? Hello? Put to what? Put to another use, yes. Miss Manal is really concentrating today. Excellent. Wonderful. Put to another use. And what about the E? E. E for what? Excellent, Miss Iman. Thank you. Eliminate. Wonderful. Excellent. What about the R? The reverse, or sometimes they call it rearrange. Okay, wonderful. This has been the Scamper technique. So let me tell you about another wonderful technique that will inshallah appeal to you. Have a look, please, at this this shape. Have a look at it. Please tell me, what is it? What do we call it in methodology? This is like a study of the body systems. What do we call this shape in methodology? I hope that your answers keep coming in very fast because we are limited in time. Excellent. It's a diagram, and Miss Asma says it's a mind map. Excellent. It's a mind map. Yes. Wonderful. Yes. Actually, mind maps are the second technique I'm going to tackle here. They are wonderful in CLIL lessons because they identify key concepts. They make connections between different subjects or even different parts or you know, components or ideas of the topic we are studying in a CLIL lesson. They help students to analyze how language and content are integrated or connected or intertwined, because you analyze and organize the information in a visual shape. Okay, and it gets you to brain it gets students to brainstorm the ideas and analyze the text and organize the information. It's wonderful for analyzing the information, evaluating and synthesizing the information, not only from the source we are working on, but from different sources and various sources, thus promoting critical thinking skills. How to make the mind maps? How do we make it or shape it? Of course, you're familiar with it. You start with the central idea and you add branches, and you add some branches under each branch, and you connect and cross-link, and then you revise and you refine. Maybe some branches are not necessary, so you remove them. Maybe some others are really important to you, so you concentrate on them and you discuss them at large and so on. And by the way, if you're working online, you will find that there are lots of websites that provide you with templates of mind maps, like MindMeister. This is a website for making mind maps, wonderful ones and attractive ones. XMind, this is another website, and Koggle for making templates of mind maps. By the way, you either provide your students with mind maps or ask them to work in groups to create their own mind maps. Okay, and thus you promote and you provoke the work of their minds and the critical thinking skills. Have a look at this shape, please, because this is the third technique I'm going to tackle today in my presentation. What is this shape called in methodology? Wonderful, yeah, organized knowledge, yeah. Okay, now have a look at this shape. What do we call it in methodology? I know maybe most of you are not familiar with it. Okay, we have the central idea here, and we have 8 first level petals or squares, and then we take every idea here, put it in the center, and we add 8 more second level petals or like squares. Puzzle. Okay, Miss Hanan, okay. Does it remind you about certain plant? Does it remind you about certain plant? Okay, let me tell you about it. Let me check the chat box. Sudoku, it reminds lotus, Mrs. Sameh, wonderful, excellent. That's it. It's called the lotus blossom technique. The lotus blossom technique. This technique is called the lotus blossom because it's like the plant, which is the lotus blossom flower. It's having first level petals, and then second level petals, I mean leaves, and third level petals, lots of petals, and we have the central idea. Okay, so let me tell you about it, and to elaborate on that a little bit, it's a brainstorming tool, and it's wonderful. You can use it in a CLIL lesson, for example, to brainstorm ideas for a project on renewable energy. Your central idea could be the renewable energy sources, okay? And your 8 first level petals could be solar power, wind power, hydropower, geothermal energy, etc. Okay, and then you take every one of these. I mean, from there, you could add 8 more petals or squares around each of these ideas to generate more specific ideas and concepts related to the topic we're discussing, or in this example, the renewable energy sources. Okay, see how many ideas we generate. If we have a problem, we can make it like this. Put it in the center of the shape and get students. We can you know, make it like the shape on you know, the flip chart that we hang on the walls of the classroom, for example, if we're working face to face. Okay, so you get your students to work in groups to generate ideas like this, and put the ideas in the sticky notes and stick them on the flip chart like this shape. So we get, I guess, 72 ideas that we can discuss and review and refine and see which one is. Okay, Mr. Nabil says this part This is the part which you have presented. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Mr. Nabil. That's really thoughtful of you. This presentation, this presentation is my session in the conference of yesterday, the ICC International Conference. Okay, so this is called the Lotus Blossom Technique. Okay, it helps our students to think critically, to generate ideas about certain product, idea, topic, or even a problem to solve. We may think about the causes, the effects of the problem, the positive points, the negative points, and so on. And students try to generate many ideas in groups. And by the way, this elaborates on and promotes the communication in our students and the collaboration in groups. Okay, the fourth technique, which is really wonderful, it's my favorite today, the reverse brainstorming technique. Reverse brainstorming. It's brainstorming. So you get your students to think of ideas and generate ideas in groups, okay? But it's reverse. So what does it mean? Reverse, the problem, the idea, the product, reverse. What is it? It's wonderful. Let me tell you about it. Actually, if you have a problem and you want to think about a solution for the problem, you want to make the product better or the problem better. So you think about ideas to make it better. Okay, this is traditional. This is something that is usual. But here, according to the reverse brainstorming technique, we think about making it worse, not better. So you identify the problem and you divide your students into groups and you ask the groups to think about how to make the product worse, not better. Okay, how to make the problem worse, and start generating ideas and taking down notes. And then they flip the ideas. They write the opposite ideas of the ones that would make the problem worse, and this way they will have solutions for the problem or how to make it better. Okay, so we think about how to make it worse first, and then we flip the ideas, so we have the solutions. And we start afterwards, we start evaluating the solutions and deciding on which ones will be the most effective or the most applicable, achievable, or feasible. Okay, let me give you a wonderful example. Begin with solutions. Mrs. Manel, that's a great idea. Begin with the solutions. Great idea here. By the way, we are running out of time. I guess we have to, we have, how many minutes do we have? I don't know. Okay, let me complete, and maybe if we get disconnected, I will give you another link to join again, okay? Because this is the standard version that I'm working. I have just 10 minutes. I have 10 minutes. It's okay. 10 minutes is okay, by the way. Okay, we can go on. All right, so I give you another example to clarify the reverse brainstorming technique. If we are tackling the problem of traffic congestion, I want to solve the problem. So in class, I ask my students to work in groups to think of how to make the traffic congestion worse, not better, worse. And they start to generate ideas. Some ideas may be closing roads, adding more lanes, canceling public transportation, increasing carpooling restrictions, eliminating, etc. These are ideas for making it worse. So then they start flipping the ideas. They write open more lanes, open more roads, add more lanes, invest in public transportation, encourage carpooling, etc. And then they try to decide on which of these would be more applicable. So maybe you will find that encouraging carpooling, optimizing traffic signals, and investing in public transportation are the most effective and achievable, which means feasible solutions to reduce the traffic congestion. Okay, does it appeal to you, the reverse brainstorming technique? It's wonderful. The open-ended questions. The last technique to tell you about today. Of course, you're familiar, and you may, just a second, let me check the chat box. Okay, nice ideas. Thank you, Mrs. Manel. Wonderful. You're a very interactive participant today. Actually, you are all active and interactive. Thank you. All right, so open-ended questions is the last technique that I'm going to tell you about today in my presentation. In a CLIL lesson, you need your students to understand the content, right? So maybe you ask them yes or no questions, complete or choose the correct answer questions, and they have to pick the answers from the context, from the text that they are working on, right? I don't want to ask them these questions all the time. because I want to get them to have their mind work, to promote the work of the mind, the critical thinking, so that they can understand the content. So I ask them open-ended questions. Okay, it gets them to generate idea and reflect on their experience and think more deeply about the content. I'll give you examples of questions, open-ended questions, in a lesson about photosynthesis, البناء الضوئي, all right? So I can ask my students about uh, open-ended questions that have to do with photosynthesis lesson that will get them to think critically about the content of the lesson. I may ask them, how does the concept of photosynthesis relate to the other topics we have studied in this class? What are some real-world applications of the principle of photosynthesis? What are some possible reasons for variations in the rate of photosynthesis among different plant species? How can we test the hypothesis that light intensity affects the rate of photosynthesis? Okay, what ethical issues arise when we consider the impact of photosynthesis on the environment and human society? By the way, it's not only the teacher who is going to ask open-ended questions all the time. You can even get your students to pose questions, to pose open-ended questions, but there are some practical activities that you can give your students where they are going to, for example, read an article or watch a video on a certain content that is related to the lesson, of course, the CLIL lesson or any other lesson, by the way. And then you give them activities like these: the Socratic Seminar, the Think, Pair, Share, or the Fishbowl Debate. These are three kinds of practical activities that use open-ended questions, but this time you ask your students to work in groups to create the open-ended questions on certain topic, or the content of a certain article they read, or the content of a certain video they watch that is related to the content of the CLIL lesson. So please, I invite you all to watch videos on Socratic Seminar activity, Think, Pair, Share activity, Fishbowl activity, and see how it can be applied in class, but practically, I mean, to see it visually on YouTube. Maybe there are lots of videos on it. I will tell you about the Socratic Seminar, and there are the steps of this activity where students can create questions. You first step here you divide the participants in small groups of 4 or 5 people, students, I mean. You provide each group with a short article to read or a video to watch, and then they start creating questions, open-ended questions. Okay, and then they think of solutions to these questions, and then you have you gather them, you get them together in a Socratic Seminar like discussion. It's a plenary discussion, I mean a choral discussion. You get them together and you start posing questions. You and the students, they pose questions and they answer it them. They pose questions and they answer them, and you discuss what of these are the most beneficial. How could you relate the information or the knowledge you had or they had to the real life? Do they still have other questions that they need to more support on or elaboration on? Let me check the chat box. Yeah, Mrs. Manel says questions that make them relate new knowledge to prior knowledge. Excellent. To value the knowledge and how to apply the knowledge to their real life. Excellent, miss. That's it. Yeah. So actually, this is the end of my presentation. Now it's your turn to write in the chat box what techniques resonated with you from my presentation today, and what other techniques you may you are eager to apply, or in your CLIL lessons or in your lessons in general. Okay, or if you have any question, just post them. You can unmute and speak. You have 3 minutes for this. Thank you so much for being here. It has been a great pleasure and honor. Here are the references I used for my presentation. Here are my contact details. I can copy and paste in the chat box if you want. Just tell me. The Scamper, oh, excellent. Okay, thank you. The reverse technique, Mrs. Manel, you agree with me. I like the Scamper, the reverse technique very much. Mrs. Wafaa likes Adapt. Mrs. Manel likes Mind Maps as well. Excellent. Do you have any questions? Mrs. Dua likes Think, Pair, Share, Fishbowl Debate. Excellent. You will find videos, whole videos, in having the application of these activities that use open-ended questions, by the way. They are excellent and fun. If I had more time, I would show you how to apply them, or even could apply them with you, inshallah, in one more session, okay? All right. If you want to speak, just unmute and speak immediately. Introduce yourself and speak. I have 2 minutes for that. Okay? Yeah. I would like to, the kiss technique. Okay. You just have 2 minutes, and the session is going to get disconnected because I'm having the standard version or of the application, but it's okay. I may assign or allocate a whole session for these techniques. It's wonderful too. Okay. And if you want to discuss it here, you have 30 minutes. Thank you for your beneficial session. I have to thank you. I can't thank you enough. A big thank you goes to my colleagues, brothers, and sisters. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for your beneficial session. You're welcome. You're always welcome. 1 minute to go. If you have any questions, unmute and speak. You're welcome, Mrs. Reem. Thank you. You're welcome. That's really thoughtful of you. I just invite you to Google the topic to learn more about more techniques. You have the 6 hats technique. This is one more technique that promotes critical thinking in CLIL. By the way, you will find many other techniques that you can utilize yourself. Okay? You're welcome. If you want to speak, feel free. We are all learning from one another. Unmute and speak immediately. Less than 1 minute, so let me stop the recording.
Yes, Miss Marwa.
Okay, hi, yeah. Go ahead.
Hi, Miss Marwa. Excuse me, I want you to clarify some of these techniques in another session, please.
This is Miss Dua, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we can, we can like determine some other appointment and having a session together to discuss any other topic you would like. Okay, I have no problem with that.
I'll search about some videos on YouTube, but I hope that you will make another session for these techniques, inshallah.
Okay, maybe we can practice them together, okay, online, okay?
Okay, it will be nice.
Okay, thank you. Okay.